You don't belong here. Go ahead. Walk back to wherever you came from. Blake Harrington's voice dropped low as his hand clamped onto Maya Brooks's shoulder, squeezing just enough to sting. The grip wasn't anger. It was control. Practiced and effortless, like he had done this 100 times without consequence. Around them, students slowed, watching. But no one stepped in. Tyler knocked her dorm key card from her hand, sending it skidding across the pavement before pressing it into the ground with his polished shoe. "Guess you're not getting in tonight," he said with a smirk. Maya didn't move, spine straight, gaze steady, giving them nothing. Blake leaned in, close enough for his arrogance to feel suffocating. "Know your place, and stay out of our way." Behind him, footsteps approached. Slow, measured, precise. He had no idea the man closing in had been trained to end situations like this before they even began. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the campus grounds as Maya Brooks trudged toward Maplewood Hall. Her backpack weighed heavy on her shoulders after a marathon study session in the library. She rolled her neck, trying to ease the tension that had built up over hours of hunching over textbooks. All she wanted was to get to her room, kick off her shoes, and collapse for a few minutes before diving back into her constitutional law notes. The familiar brick path to Maplewood felt longer today. Each step a small victory against exhaustion. That's when she saw them. Blake Harrington and 4 other Rho Delta brothers stood in a loose semicircle at the entrance to her dorm building. They weren't doing anything specific, just talking, laughing, taking up space. But Maya instantly recognized the territorial display for what it was. She slowed her pace, considering her options. The side entrance was a detour, but why should she have to walk around? This was her dorm. She squared her shoulders and continued forward, eyes fixed on the doorway beyond the group. Blake spotted her when she was a short distance away. His casual smile hardened into something else, something calculated. He nudged the guy next to him, and suddenly all 5 pairs of eyes locked onto her. "Well, look who it is," Blake called out, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "The scholarship special." Maya kept walking, her face carefully neutral despite the sudden pounding of her heart. "Didn't you hear me?" Blake stepped directly into her path, forcing her to stop. "I was talking to you, Brooks." He wore the unofficial uniform of campus privilege. Expensive jeans, designer shoes, and a polo shirt with the Little Horse logo that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. His smile never reached his eyes. "I need to get to my room," Maya said, her voice steady, despite the flush of anger rising to her face. Tyler Mercer, Blake's ever-present shadow, moved to Blake's side. "She needs to get to her room," he mimicked, pitching his voice high in cruel imitation. "Do you hear that, Blake? Princess needs to pass." 2 freshman girls approached the dorm entrance, saw what was happening, and quickly changed direction. A guy on a bench nearby suddenly became intensely interested in his phone. No one wanted to get involved. "You know what I've been wondering," Blake said, taking a step closer. "How exactly did someone from your neighborhood end up here? Because Westridge isn't exactly known for producing material like you." Maya felt her jaw tighten. Of course he had looked her up. "I earned my spot," she said. "Now, excuse me." She tried to step around him, but Blake shifted, blocking her again. "Did you, though?" His voice dripped with fake concern. "Because admission standards have gotten so flexible lately. Must be nice having lower bars to jump." The other frat brothers snickered. One of them whispered something that made the others laugh harder. "I ranked first in my class," Maya said, anger making her voice sharper than she intended. "My SAT scores were—" "Oh, we're not questioning your test-taking abilities," Blake interrupted, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "I'm sure you're very good at filling in bubbles. Just wondering if maybe some spots should go to people who, actually belong here." Something cold and hard settled in Maya's stomach. She had heard comments like this before, always carefully worded, always with just enough plausible deniability. She knew exactly what Blake meant by belong. "I need to get by," Maya repeated, clutching the strap of her backpack tighter. Tyler stepped closer, his broad frame towering over her. "What's the rush? We're just having a friendly conversation." His hand landed heavily on her shoulder, fingers digging in just enough to make a point. "Take your hand off me," Maya said, her voice low but firm. "Or what?" Tyler's grip tightened slightly. "You going to call campus security? File a complaint?" His smile widened. "Go ahead. My dad's college roommate is the head of student affairs. We'll have a good laugh about it at the next alumni dinner." Students passed by on the walkway. Some slowed down, watching the scene unfold, but no one intervened. Maya felt very alone in that moment, surrounded by people but completely isolated. "You know," Blake said, leaning in so close she could smell the mint on his breath, "there are still some people who think this university had higher standards before they started letting just anyone in. People who think maybe some traditions are worth protecting." Tyler's fingers dug deeper into her shoulder. "Maybe you should consider if this is really the right place for you." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs, but she held Blake's gaze. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. "I think that's enough." The voice cut through the tension like a knife. Calm, controlled, but with an unmistakable edge of authority. Everyone turned. A man stood several feet away, his posture relaxed, yet somehow radiating complete confidence. He wasn't particularly large, but something about him commanded attention. His eyes, dark and focused, locked onto Blake without wavering. "Take your hand off my sister." Tyler's fingers remained dug into Maya's shoulder. "Who the hell are you?" "Derek Brooks." He stepped forward, closing the distance with measured strides. "And I said, take your hand off my sister, now!" Maya felt a rush of relief so powerful her knees almost buckled. "Derek," she breathed. Her brother wasn't supposed to arrive until later. Blake's surprise lasted only a moment before his trademark smirk returned. "Well, look at this. Family Day came early." He looked Derek up and down, assessing. "Your sister and I were just having a friendly campus discussion about standards." "I heard what you were discussing." Derek moved beside Maya, his eyes never leaving Blake's face. "And there's nothing friendly about it." Tyler still hadn't removed his hand. "Man, this isn't your business." "My sister, my business." Derek didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Your hand. Remove it." Something in his tone made Tyler's confidence falter. He glanced at Blake for direction. Blake chuckled, but it sounded forced. "Relax, everyone. Tyler, let the girl go. We're just talking here." Tyler reluctantly dropped his hand, taking a small step back. Derek positioned himself slightly in front of Maya. To anyone watching, it might have looked casual, but Maya recognized her brother's protective stance from childhood, always vigilant. "Here's what's going to happen," Derek said, his voice steady. "You're going to walk away. All of you." Blake laughed, louder this time, looking to his fraternity brothers for support. "Or what, exactly? You think you can take all of us?" "I don't need to." Derek's expression remained unchanged. "What I need is for you to understand something. Men who need to gang up on a woman walking alone aren't men at all." Blake's smile slipped. "Watch yourself." "No, you watch yourself," Derek replied. "You feel powerful right now? With your friends behind you? With your daddy's connections protecting you?" He shook his head. "That's not power. That's hiding." People had stopped pretending not to watch. A small crowd had formed, and Maya noticed several students had their phones out recording. "You don't know who you're talking to," Blake said, his voice lower now. "I know exactly who I'm talking to. Someone who's terrified of losing control." Derek took one step closer. "Someone who needs to intimidate others to feel important. I've seen your type before. Outside of your little bubble, you're nothing." Blake's face flushed red. Tyler moved forward, but Blake held out a hand to stop him. "You think having an audience makes you safe?" Blake asked, nodding toward the onlookers. "This campus has rules, systems, things you don't understand." "What I understand," Derek said, "is that you put hands on my sister. That was your first mistake. Your second was thinking there wouldn't be consequences." A girl in the growing crowd whispered loudly, "That's Blake Harrington. His family donated the new business wing." Derek didn't even blink. "I don't care if his family donated the whole damn university. This ends now." Blake's eyes darted around, noting the phone's recording, the witnesses gathering. His calculated mask slipped back into place. "We were just leaving anyway," he said, forcing a laugh. "Some of us have actual responsibilities." He gestured to his fraternity brothers, who began backing away. "But just so we're clear, this isn't over. Not by a long shot." "Actually, it is," Derek replied. "Because if you come near my sister again, what happens next won't be a conversation." Blake held Derek's gaze for a moment longer, then turned away. The group of fraternity brothers moved off down the path, their earlier swagger notably diminished. As they walked away, Blake glanced back once, his expression cold and calculating. The look held no anger, only the clinical assessment of someone making plans. Maya finally let out the breath she'd been holding. Her hands were shaking. "You okay?" Derek asked, turning to her. "I'm fine." She tried to sound convincing. "What are you doing here?" "Finished up early. Thought I'd surprise you." His eyes followed Blake's retreating figure. "Looks like I had good timing." "Thanks for stepping in, but I had it under control," she said, straightening her shoulders. Derek studied her face. "I know you did." He knew better than to suggest otherwise. But something about those guys... He frowned, still watching them disappear around the corner of the building. "What?" "Nothing." Derek finally looked away from Blake's direction. "Let's get inside." But Maya knew her brother too well. She saw it in the slight narrowing of his eyes, the way his body remained alert despite the danger seemingly passing. Derek sensed something she couldn't yet see. Something that told him this confrontation wasn't just random harassment. It was the beginning of something worse. Maya's dorm room was small, but meticulously organized. Books lined her desk in perfect stacks, color-coded sticky notes marking important pages. A framed photo of their family sat beside her laptop. Mom, Dad, Derek, and Maya at her high school graduation, all beaming with pride. Derek sat on her desk chair, while Maya perched on the edge of her bed. The setting sun cast long shadows through the blinds, painting stripes across the floor. "You want to tell me what that was about?" Derek asked, his voice gentler than it had been outside. Maya shrugged. "Just Blake being Blake. It's nothing new." "That didn't look like nothing." Derek leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "How long has this been going on?" Maya was quiet for a moment, picking at a loose thread on her comforter. "It started small, weird looks in the dining hall, getting bumped into accidentally at parties. And it escalated." She nodded. "After I beat Blake in a debate competition, Professor Wilkins said my argument was exceptional." Blake's face turned this crazy shade of purple. A small smile flickered across her face. "After that, things got worse. They'd show up wherever I was studying, Make comments just loud enough for me to hear. What kind of comments? Maya's eyes fixed on the floor. That I didn't belong here. That my scholarship was just for show. That I'd never make it in politics because I didn't have the right connections. Derek's jaw tightened. You reported this? To who? The student affairs office run by Blake's dad's golf buddy. The campus police who look the other way when Rho Delta throws parties? She shook her head. I'm not the only one they target. Anyone who threatens their little power structure gets the same treatment. But most transfer or drop out. But not you. No. Her voice strengthened. Not me. I worked too hard to get here. Derek studied his sister. The determined set of her jaw reminded him of their mother. That same quiet, immovable strength. But he also saw something she was trying to hide. Exhaustion. Fighting this battle alone had taken its toll. This is systematic, he said. The way they operate, it's not random bullying. It's coordinated intimidation. It's just frat boy nonsense, Maya said, though her eyes told a different story. It's more than that. I've seen this pattern before. Derek stood and walked to the window, looking down at the campus below. They're protecting something. Territory, influence, control, and they see you as a threat. Me? I'm just trying to get my degree. Derek turned back to her. You're more than that, and they know it. You're everything they're afraid of. Smart, capable, with actual earned merit rather than bought privilege. Maya crossed her arms. So what am I supposed to do? Hide in my room? No. You keep doing exactly what you've been doing. Derek sat back down. But I'm going to stay in town for a while. Derek, you can't. Already arranged it. Got a buddy who lives nearby. I was due for some leave anyway. I don't need a bodyguard, Maya protested. Today was just a warning shot, Derek finished. And I'd bet anything there's more coming. Maya sighed, knowing that arguing with her brother was pointless when he had that look in his eyes. The same look he'd had when neighborhood kids had bullied her in 5th grade. By the end of that week, no one had dared look at her sideways again. Fine, but don't hover. I have midterms coming up. Derek smiled. Deal. They ordered pizza and spent the next few hours catching up. Derek told stories about his team's training exercises, carefully edited. To make her laugh. Maya shared campus gossip and her plans for law school applications. For a while it felt normal, just 2 siblings hanging out. After he left, Maya realized she'd forgotten her economics textbook in the library. She grabbed her student ID card and headed downstairs, still replaying the afternoon's confrontation in her mind. Maybe her brother was right to be concerned, but surely Blake wouldn't be stupid enough to escalate things further. Not after being so publicly called out. The night air was crisp as she crossed the courtyard between dorms. A few students milled about, heading to late-night study sessions or returning from the campus center. Maya hurried to the library, found her textbook where she'd left it, and headed back to her building. At the entrance to Maplewood Hall, she swiped her access card against the reader. The small light flashed red. She frowned and tried again. Red light. Again. Red light. Come on, she muttered, examining the card for damage. It looked perfectly fine. She tried once more, sliding it carefully through the reader. The light flashed red. Maya stared at the red light blinking on the card reader, her frustration growing with each failed attempt. Students passed by, a few glancing curiously at her repeated efforts. Having trouble? A girl with braided hair paused beside her. Yeah, my card's not working. It was fine this morning. Systems glitch, maybe? The girl shrugged sympathetically before swiping her own card and disappearing inside. The temperature had dropped since sunset, and Maya pulled her jacket tighter. She dialed the campus security number posted beside the door. After several rings, a bored voice answered. Campus security. Hi, I'm locked out of Maplewood Hall. My ID card suddenly stopped working. Name and student ID? Maya Brooks. ID number 867-29453. The silence stretched as the security officer presumably checked her information. Maya shifted from foot to foot, watching her breath cloud in the night air. Says here, your access privileges are under review, the officer finally said. Under review? Why? By who? Doesn't specify. Could be routine maintenance. Could be administrative flag. But I live here, Maya said, her voice rising. I can't just stand outside all night. I'll send someone over, the officer sighed. Wait by the main entrance. A security guard finally appeared, his pace unhurried as he approached. He was older with gray hair and a permanent frown etched into his face. ID, he demanded without greeting. Maya handed over her card. He studied it, then her face with unnecessary scrutiny. System says your access is restricted, he said, as if she'd done something wrong. There must be a mistake. I'm a resident here, he grunted. I'll let you in this time, but you need to sort this out with housing tomorrow. Can't keep making exceptions. The way he said exceptions made it clear what he thought, that she was the problem, not the system. He held the door open reluctantly, as if doing her an enormous favor. Thank you, she said, slipping past him into the warmth of the lobby. By the time she reached her room, Maya's phone buzzed with incoming emails. She kicked off her shoes and opened the first message from the financial aid office. Her heart dropped. Dear Ms. Brooks, this notice is to inform you that your Merit Achievement Scholarship status has been flagged for mandatory review due to concerns about conduct standards compliance. Your next disbursement may be delayed pending outcome. Before she could process this, she opened the second email from the Office of Student Affairs. This is a formal notice of a disciplinary warning filed against you for disruptive behavior and creating a hostile environment on campus grounds. A complaint has been submitted by multiple witnesses to an incident outside Maplewood Hall. Maya's hands shook as she read the vague accusations. No specific details, no named complainants, just enough official language to sound serious. She called Derek immediately. They're coming after me, she said when he answered. They're trying to take my scholarship, and now there's some bogus disciplinary thing. Forward me everything, Derek replied, his voice deadly calm. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Duh. When Derek arrived, Maya had already tried emailing her academic advisor, the scholarship committee, and the student ombudsman. Her inbox remained stubbornly empty of responses. Derek read through the emails on her laptop, his expression darkening with each paragraph. He noted the timing, all sent within an hour after the confrontation with Blake. This isn't random, he said. This is coordinated. But how could they move this fast? Maya paced the small room. The scholarship review has the department head's signature. The disciplinary notice is from the dean's office. One phone call, Derek said simply. Blake makes one call to Daddy. Daddy calls his friends on the board, and suddenly you're a problem that needs solving. That's crazy. They can't just... They can, and they are. Derek scrolled through the documents again. Notice how there's nothing specific. No witnesses named. No exact policy violation cited. It's all vague threats designed to scare you. Maya slumped onto her bed. Well, it's working. That scholarship is the only reason I can afford to be here. Try calling these offices tomorrow, Derek said. Don't email. Show up in person if you can. And say what? That a powerful frat is out to get me because they got embarrassed? For now, play their game. Act confused. Ask for specifics. Document everything. Maya spent the next hour drafting responses and planning what offices to visit first thing in the morning. She tried to focus on solutions, but anxiety gnawed at her stomach. "What if they actually take my scholarship?" she finally asked, voicing her deepest fear. Derek looked up from the laptop. His eyes were cold, calculating in a way she rarely saw outside of his military life. "They won't," he said with quiet certainty, "because we're not going to let them." Morning light streamed through the tall windows of Westbrook Hall, home to the university's administrative offices. The building's marble floors and dark wood paneling whispered of tradition and authority. Maya clutched a manila folder containing her carefully typed complaint against Blake Harrington and the Rho Delta fraternity. "You ready?" Derek asked, standing beside her in the hallway. Maya nodded, though her stomach twisted with nerves. "Let's do this." The student affairs office smelled of paper and artificial air freshener. Behind the front desk sat a middle-aged woman with reading glasses perched on her nose. Her nameplate read Mrs. Winters, administrative assistant. "Good morning," Maya said. "I need to file a formal complaint." Mrs. Winters barely looked up from her computer. "Forms are online. You can submit electronically." "I already completed the forms." Maya placed the folder on the counter. "I wanted to make sure it gets processed properly." Mrs. Winters sighed, taking the folder with obvious reluctance. She flipped it open, scanning the first page. "Rho Delta?" Her eyebrows rose slightly. "And Blake Harrington?" "Yes," Maya said firmly. "There was an incident of harassment outside Maplewood Hall, and since then, there's been retaliation." Mrs. Winters' expression shifted from boredom to something more guarded. "I see. And you are?" "Maya Brooks, Jr., Political Science." Derek stood slightly behind Maya, watching the interaction with focused attention. He noticed how Mrs. Winters' eyes darted to the office behind her, how her fingers tapped nervously on the desk. "We'll need to review this," Mrs. Winters said, closing the folder without reading further. "Someone will contact you." "When?" Maya pressed. "I've also been notified that my scholarship is under review, and I received a disciplinary warning. Both happened immediately after this incident." "I wouldn't know anything about that." Mrs. Winters slid the folder to the side of her desk. "Different departments handle those matters." "But they're connected," Maya insisted. "This is retaliation." "That's quite an accusation," Mrs. Winters said, her voice cooling. "We take all complaints seriously, but we also follow proper procedures. Someone will review this and contact you. That's all I can tell you." Derek stepped forward. "Is there a case number or receipt she can have for tracking purposes?" Mrs. Winters hesitated, then grudgingly wrote something on a slip of paper. "Here, reference number. Check the student portal for updates." "Thank you," Maya said, though her heart sank at the woman's dismissive attitude. As they left the office, Derek murmured, "She's going to bury that complaint." "You don't know that," Maya said, though she feared the same. I watched her eyes. She recognized Blake's name immediately. She was already thinking about how to handle it. They headed toward the financial aid office next, hoping to address the scholarship review. The response there was equally frustrating. Vague references to routine audits, and nothing to worry about if everything's in order. By noon, they had visited 3 offices and gotten nowhere. No one would acknowledge any connection between the harassment incident and the sudden scrutiny of Maya's academic standing. After grabbing lunch at the campus center, Maya headed to Professor Garcia's office hours. As her academic advisor and a respected voice in the political science department, surely he would help. Professor Garcia welcomed them into his cluttered office, listening as Maya explained the situation. His expression grew increasingly uncomfortable. "Maya," he said finally, leaning back in his chair, "you're one of my brightest students. You have a promising future ahead of you." "Thank you, sir," she said. That's why I can't just let this go. But perhaps you should." His voice was gentle but firm. "These things have a way of becoming complicated." "Complicated?" Maya repeated. "University politics can be messy. Rho Delta has a long history here. Many influential alumni. So they get to harass students without consequences." Maya's voice rose slightly. Professor Garcia glanced at Derek, then back at Maya. "I'm just advising you to consider the big picture. Your education, your future. Sometimes it's better to focus on your studies instead of drama." Derek, who had been silent until now, spoke carefully. "Sir, with respect, is that what you tell all students who face harassment? To ignore it for their futures?" Professor Garcia's face tightened. "I'm trying to help Maya make wise choices." "By suggesting she tolerate abuse?" Derek asked. "That's not what I meant." The professor shuffled papers on his desk. I should prepare for my next class. Think about what I said, Maya." Outside, walking across the quad in the afternoon sun, Maya felt a crushing weight on her shoulders. "Even Professor Garcia," she said, disbelief in her voice. "I thought he would help." Derek nodded grimly. "I checked into Rho Delta while you were in your morning class. 3 alumni on the board of trustees. 5 more heading major departments. The fraternity president's father is the biggest donor to the new science building." "So that's it? They just get away with it?" "They've built a system to protect themselves," Derek said, watching a group of students in Greek letters laughing nearby. "Blake isn't just a bully with friends. He's part of a pipeline, a legacy." Maya stopped walking, staring at the imposing administration building behind them. "The system is protecting him." "Yes," Derek said simply. "But systems can be broken." Late afternoon sun slanted through the windows of the Grind, the campus cafe tucked between the library and the student union. The place buzzed with the usual mix of typing, conversations, and the hiss of espresso machines. In a corner booth away from the crowd, Maya sat across from Derek, a half-empty coffee cup between her fingers. "We need to be strategic," Derek said, his voice low as he scrolled through his phone. "Every email, every notification, every interaction, we document it all." Maya nodded, pulling out a notebook. "I started writing everything down. Times, dates, exact words." She flipped through pages of careful notes. "But what good is it if nobody will listen?" "Someone always listens," Derek replied, "if you find the right person." He turned his phone to show her a recording app. "This stays on whenever you're dealing with administration. Screenshot every email the second it comes in. Back it up to cloud storage I set up. One they can't access." Maya rubbed her temples. "You really think they'd delete evidence?" "I think people protecting their interests are capable of anything." Derek's eyes scanned the room, a habit from his training. "The question is finding pressure points in their system." "The student newspaper?" Maya suggested. "Too easy to shut down. We need—" Derek stopped mid-sentence, his posture shifting subtly. A girl with dark hair pulled into a tight ponytail had been watching them from across the cafe. Now she was walking toward their table, eyes darting nervously to the door every few steps. She approached their table, clutching her bag tight against her body. "Are you Maya Brooks?" Maya looked up, surprised. "Yes." The girl hesitated, then slid into the seat next to Maya, keeping her voice barely above a whisper. "My name's Lena Vargas. I heard what happened with Blake Harrington." "How?" Derek asked, his tone careful but direct. "Word gets around," Lena replied, fidgeting with the strap of her bag. "Especially about Rho Delta, and especially when someone actually stands up to them." Maya studied the girl's face, tense, exhausted around the eyes. "Do I know you from class?" "No," Lena said, glancing toward the door again. I don't go here anymore. I was a junior last year. Political science, like you. You transferred? Maya asked. Lena's laugh was hollow. That's what my transcript says. Voluntary withdrawal for personal reasons. Understanding dawned on Maya's face. Blake? And his friends, Lena confirmed, her voice dropping even lower. Started small. Comments after class. Then following me to my dorm. Messages. Photos. She swallowed hard. I filed complaints. 3 of them. Let me guess, Derek said. They disappeared. Lena nodded. The first one got misplaced. The second one led to a meeting where they suggested I was misinterpreting friendly behavior. The third, her hands trembled slightly. The third one got me called to the dean's office, where he explained how serious false accusations could be. Maya reached out, covering Lena's shaking hand with her own. I'm so sorry. My grades started slipping. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Lena's eyes hardened. Then they offered me a deal. Withdraw voluntarily with a clean transcript, or face disciplinary action for academic dishonesty. They manufactured evidence against you, Derek stated more than asked. Someone accessed my account, submitted a paper that was mostly plagiarized. Lena looked up at them. I never wrote it. Didn't matter. Why are you telling us this? Maya asked gently. Lena took a deep breath. Because I heard you're fighting back, and because I'm not the only one. She glanced around the cafe again before continuing. There are others, at least 5 I know of in the past few years. Different stories, same pattern. Derek leaned forward. Do you have proof? I kept everything, Lena said. Emails, screenshots, recordings. She lowered her voice even more. I was afraid to use any of it. They made it clear what would happen if I made trouble. But now? Maya prompted. Now I'm watching it happen to someone else. Lena's eyes met Maya's. And I'm tired of being scared. A group of loud students entered the cafe, and Lena stiffened, quickly turning away from the door. I can't talk here, she said. Too many eyes. Too many connections to Rho Delta. Where then? Derek asked. There's a coffee shop downtown, the Blue Door. Nobody from campus goes there. Lena stood up, already backing away from their table. I'll bring what I have. We'll be there, Maya promised. Lena nodded, her eyes darting once more to the entrance. Don't tell anyone, and don't come together. They notice patterns. She slipped away, merging with the crowd near the counter, before disappearing through the door. Maya turned to Derek, hope mingling with disbelief on her face. Do you think she's for real? Yes, Derek said, watching the door where Lena had exited. Her fear is genuine. Question is whether her evidence is enough. If what she's saying is true, then we're not just fighting Blake, Derek finished. We're fighting a pattern, a system. Maya closed her notebook, determination hardening her expression. We'll be there. The apartment building sat on a quiet street 6 blocks from campus. Paint peeled from the railings. A flickering exterior light cast shadows across the cracked concrete steps. Maya checked the address on her phone again, glancing at Derek, who stood several paces away, following Lena's instruction not to arrive together. This is it, Maya said, approaching the intercom. She pressed the button marked 4B. After a moment of static, Lena's voice came through, tight with tension. Who is it? It's Maya. A buzz sounded, and the door unlocked. Maya held it open long enough for Derek to catch it. The hallway smelled of old carpet and cooking oil. They climbed 3 flights of stairs in silence, their footsteps echoing against the walls. At apartment 4B, the door opened before they could knock. Quick, get in, Lena said, peering past them into the hallway before shutting and locking the door behind them. She secured 2 additional deadbolts. The apartment was small, but neat. Cardboard covered the single window. A lamp in the corner provided the only light. "Sorry about the window," Lena said, noticing Maya's glance. "I don't like people seeing in." "Smart," Derek commented. He remained standing, surveying the space with practiced eyes. Lena gestured to the small table where her laptop sat open. "I have everything there." They gathered around as Lena sat down, typing a complex password. "After I left school, I started collecting everything, not just my story." She opened a folder labeled Insurance. "This is organized by semester," she explained, going back several years. She clicked on a video file. The screen showed a dark room lit by phone flashlights. Young men in Rho Delta shirts surrounded a kneeling freshman. Blake's voice rang out clearly. "You want in? Prove you belong. Drink it all." The boy's hands shook as he lifted a bottle filled with something dark. Lena paused the video. "That's Jake Miller. He ended up in the hospital. Alcohol poisoning." The official story was that he drank too much at a party. "How did you get this?" Derek asked. "One of the pledges sent it to his girlfriend. She gave it to me after Jake left school." Lena clicked through more files. Screenshots of group chats showing members discussing how to handle girls who rejected them. A spreadsheet ranking female students. Email exchanges between fraternity officers and alumni discussing damage control after incidents. "This one," Lena said, opening another document. "This is the list of girls they targeted, with notes." Maya scanned the list, her stomach tightening. Her name appeared near the bottom. Brooks. Stuck up. Needs to learn her place. "Jesus," she whispered. "And this, yes," Lena continued, pulling up a folder of text messages, "is how they coordinate with campus security and administration." The messages showed Blake and other fraternity leaders discussing which security officers were cool and which administrators could make problems go away. "They have people everywhere," Lena explained. "Campus police, housing office, student affairs, academic departments. Sometimes it's alumni connections. Sometimes it's just money." Derek leaned in closer, studying the screen. "These connections? They've built a whole system. They call it the network," Lena said. "Nothing happens on campus they don't know about." She clicked through more files, showing complaint forms that had been lost, security footage that had been deleted, witness statements that had been altered. "This is just what I could gather," Lena said. "There's more, so much more." Maya sat back, her mind racing. "This is bigger than harassment. This is corruption." "Which makes it leverage," Derek said, his voice steady. "This isn't just about making Blake back off. This could bring down their entire operation." Lena looked between them. "I've been sitting on this for months, too scared to use it." "You had good reason to be scared," Derek acknowledged. "But now?" Maya asked. Lena closed her eyes briefly. "Now I'm done being afraid." She opened her eyes with new determination. "What do we do with it?" "We take it public," Maya said immediately. "All of it." "The university will try to bury it," Lena warned. "Not if we don't give them the chance," Derek replied. "We need to release everything at once. No time for them to spin the story." "I know a journalist," Maya said. "Sophia Wilson at the City Tribune. She specializes in campus issues. She's been trying to crack Rho Delta for years." "Can we trust her?" Lena asked. "Yes," Maya said confidently, "and she has no connection to the university." Derek nodded. "We need copies of everything, multiple backups." "Already done," Lena said, pulling a small bag from beneath the table. She removed 3 flash drives. "Everything's here, encrypted, but I wrote down the password." Maya took one, feeling its weight in her palm. "Tomorrow morning, then?" Derek checked his watch. "We meet with this Sophia. By noon, this goes live." No turning back after that, Lena said quietly. You sure you're ready for this? Maya asked her. Lena straightened her shoulders. They took everything from me. My education, my confidence, my future. I've got nothing left to lose. We do this together, Maya said, reaching out to squeeze Lena's hand. Tomorrow morning, Derek confirmed. The truth comes out. The morning sun streamed through the blinds of Rachel Thompson's office at the city press, casting stripes of light across her cluttered desk. At 35, Rachel had built a reputation as the journalist who wouldn't back down. The one who had exposed the mayor's corruption scandal last year and forced 3 university board members to resign after revealing their conflicts of interest. Maya sat straight-backed in the chair across from Rachel's desk, with Derek standing behind her, arms crossed. Lena fidgeted beside them, her eyes constantly darting toward the door. So, Rachel said, adjusting her glasses as she plugged in the flash drive. You said this was important. It's more than important, Maya replied. It's systematic abuse protected by the university. Rachel's skeptical expression faded as the first files opened on her screen. Her fingers moved rapidly across the keyboard, opening document after document, her eyebrows rising higher with each new revelation. This is... Rachel paused, scrolling through a particularly damning email exchange between Blake and a campus security officer. This is worse than I expected. Keep going, Derek urged. Rachel opened a video file. The grainy footage showed Blake and his fraternity brothers surrounding a freshman in a dorm hallway. The audio was clear enough. Threats, racial slurs, promises of what would happen if the student didn't remember his place. How many incidents are documented here? Rachel asked, her voice now deadly serious. 23, Lena said quietly. Across several years. Rachel clicked through more files. Testimonials from students who'd transferred. Emails showing administrators dismissing complaints. Records of disciplinary actions mysteriously disappearing. And this? Rachel pointed to a folder labeled Financial. That's the money trail, Derek explained. Alumni donations that coincidentally arrive after problems disappear. Scholarship reassignments. Budget allocations that shift right after incidents. Rachel leaned back in her chair, removing her glasses and rubbing the bridge of her nose. This isn't just a fraternity problem. This is institutional corruption. Will you run it? Maya asked. Rachel looked directly at them. There will be backlash. Serious backlash. They'll come after you. All of you. They already are, Maya said firmly. They'll try to discredit you, Rachel continued. They'll dig into your past, your families, your records. Anything to undermine your credibility. We know the risks, Derek stated. Rachel nodded slowly, putting her glasses back on. I'll need your formal statements. Signed, on record. For the next 2 hours, Rachel recorded their testimonies. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as they spoke, occasionally pausing to ask clarifying questions or request specific details. By afternoon, she had drafted the main article. I'm publishing soon, Rachel announced. That gives my editor time to review and our legal team time to check everything. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. Good, Maya said. No more hiding. When they left Rachel's office, the day seemed brighter somehow. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt something like hope. At exactly the scheduled time, Rachel's story went live. Power and Privilege: How Rho Delta Fraternity Controls Campus Justice. The subtitle was even more damning. University administration implicated in cover-up of harassment and discrimination. By shortly after publication, the article had been shared over 1,000 times. By later that afternoon, students were gathering on the main quad, many reading the article on their phones, others already making signs. Maya, Derek, and Lena watched from the window of a campus coffee shop as the crowd grew. Texts and calls flooded their phones, some offering support, others from media outlets seeking comments. "It's really happening," Lena whispered, her voice a mixture of disbelief and vindication. "Administration just sent an emergency email," a student announced loudly in the cafe. "They're looking into the allegations." "Looking into?" Someone else scoffed. "It's all right there." By evening, the crowd had doubled. Campus security stood uncomfortably at the edges, clearly unsure how to proceed. News vans lined the campus entrance. At the scheduled announcement time, everyone's phones buzzed simultaneously, with an official university announcement. Rho Delta activities suspended pending full investigation. Chapter President Blake Harrington temporarily removed from student leadership positions. The cafe erupted in cheers. Lena covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Maya reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "It's just the beginning," Derek cautioned, his eyes fixed on his phone screen. "They're trying damage control. Notice they said temporarily." "But it's something," Maya replied. For the first time, they couldn't just make it go away. Outside, the crowd had begun chanting. Even through the closed windows, the words were clear. No more silence. No more fear. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Good start. Stay vigilant. They'll push back hard." As darkness fell across the campus, the glow of phone screens and hastily made signs illuminated the quad. Blake Harrington's suspension was just the first crack in the wall. The real fight was only beginning. Evening settled over the campus with an unusual energy. Students gathered in small clusters across the quad, their animated conversations punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter or indignant exclamations. The news had spread like wildfire. Blake Harrington, the untouchable, had been suspended. Maya walked along the main path, her shoulders straight, her steps confident for the first time in weeks. 3 girls from her political theory class waved as she passed. "We're with you, Maya," one called out. "That article was fire," another added. "About time someone exposed those jerks." Maya nodded, a small smile forming. Just the day before, these same students had looked away when Blake cornered her. Now, they acted like allies. It was strange how quickly things changed when the powerful started to fall. "Thanks," she said simply, continuing toward the library. Her phone buzzed with another campus-wide email. "The university takes all allegations of misconduct seriously. We have formed a special committee to conduct an internal review of the claims regarding Rho Delta fraternity. We are committed to ensuring a safe and inclusive environment for all students." The message continued, with carefully constructed phrases about thorough investigation and appropriate action. Maya snorted. The same administration that had ignored her complaint was now scrambling to look concerned. She found Derek sitting at a table near the library entrance, his laptop open, his expression guarded. "You see this?" she asked, sliding into the seat across from him. "I did." His eyes remained fixed on his screen. "They're in damage control mode. But it's working, right? People are talking. Blake is suspended." Derek looked up, his face serious. "It's a start, but these types of systems don't collapse from one hit." "You could just be happy for a minute," Maya said, frustration edging into her voice. "We're winning." "I am happy," Derek replied, his tone softening. "I'm proud of you. I just don't want you to let your guard down." Students passed by their table, several nodding respectfully at Maya. A few even stopped to offer support. The isolation she'd felt just days ago seemed like a distant memory. "I've gotten texts from people who never spoke to me before," she said, scrolling through her phone. Suddenly, Everyone wants to share how they always knew Blake was trouble. Courage is contagious, Derek observed, but so is cowardice. Remember who stood with you before it was easy. Maya nodded, thinking of Lena. She had texted earlier, asking to meet at the coffee shop off campus. When Maya arrived shortly after, she found Lena in the corner booth, nervously turning a paper cup in her hands. "Hey," Maya slid in across from her. "You okay?" "I'm thinking about coming forward," Lena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Publicly, I mean, using my name." "That's huge," Maya replied carefully. "Are you sure?" Lena's fingers tightened around her cup. "When I left last year, I felt so erased, like they won, like I didn't matter enough to fight for." She looked up, determination replacing fear in her eyes. "I don't want to hide anymore." "It won't be easy," Maya warned. "Look how hard they fought just to keep this quiet." "I know, but I'm not alone now." Lena took a deep breath. "Rachel called. She wants to do a follow-up piece. Student testimonies, faces and names." Maya reached across the table, squeezing Lena's hand. "Whatever you decide, I've got your back." Outside, the evening had deepened into night. The campus lights cast long shadows across the grounds as they walked back together. A few students were still gathered near the administration building, their protest signs propped against the steps. "It feels different," Lena observed. "Like maybe things really can change." Maya nodded. For the first time, the campus felt like it might actually belong to all students, not just the privileged few. Her phone pinged with supportive messages. Even professors had started reaching out, offering assistance with missed assignments or extensions. Back in her dorm room, Maya called Derek to update him about Lena. "That takes courage," he said. "But make sure she understands what she's stepping into. This isn't over." "You're such a pessimist," Maya laughed, though part of her appreciated his caution. "Realistic," he corrected. "I'll be back on campus tomorrow. We should meet with Rachel again, see what the next steps are." After they hung up, Maya sat on her bed, scrolling through social media. The story had reached beyond campus now. Alumni were weighing in, some defending the fraternity, others sharing their own experiences of the toxic culture. Her phone buzzed with a new text. Rachel's name appeared on the screen. Something's wrong. Maya woke to her alarm. She'd barely slept, her mind racing with plans for the day ahead. The tide had turned. People were listening. Justice seemed possible now. She reached for her phone, squinting at the bright screen as she opened the campus news app. Something felt off. The headline about Rho Delta that had dominated the previous day's feed was gone. She frowned, scrolling frantically. "What the hell?" She typed Rachel's name in the search bar. Nothing about the fraternity appeared. Instead, a tiny notice at the bottom of the page caught her eye. Correction. An article regarding allegations against Rho Delta fraternity has been retracted due to concerns about sourcing and verification. Maya sat bolt upright, fully awake now. She called Rachel immediately. "The number you have reached is not accepting calls at this time." Her hands trembled as she opened her email. 23 new messages. The first one from the Dean of Students' office had the subject line, "Urgent disciplinary meeting, immediate response required." She opened it, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Dear Ms. Brooks, you are required to attend an immediate disciplinary hearing regarding serious allegations of evidence fabrication and defamation against campus organizations. Your attendance is mandatory today." The room seemed to tilt sideways. Maya tried calling Lena. Straight to voicemail. She texted Lena, "What's happening? Call me ASAP." The message showed delivered, but not read. Her phone rang. Derek. Have you seen? She started. I'm on my way to campus, he cut in, his voice tense. Don't talk to anyone until I get there. Don't reply to any emails. Don't sign anything. Rachel's article is gone, Maya said, her voice small. I know. I just tried calling her. There was traffic noise in the background. Something happened overnight. This is coordinated. Lena's not answering either. A pause. Stay put. I'll be there soon. When Derek arrived, his face was grim. They sat in her dorm room, the blinds drawn, as Maya showed him the disciplinary notice. They're saying I made everything up, she said, disbelief evident in her voice. How can they do that? We have the evidence. We have Lena's files. Derek was scrolling through his phone. Rachel posted this an hour ago. It was a formal statement from Rachel's news account. I deeply regret publishing unverified allegations against members of Rho Delta. After further investigation, significant questions about the authenticity of the evidence have emerged. I apologize to all affected parties. That's not Rachel, Maya said firmly. She wouldn't write that. I agree. Derek's expression darkened. I drove by her apartment. Her car's gone. They tried Lena's apartment next. The landlord informed them she had moved out early that morning. No forwarding address. This isn't possible, Maya whispered as they walked back to the car. They can't just erase everything overnight. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. Your scholarship has been suspended pending investigation. Derek's phone rang. He answered, listened for a moment, and stepped away from Maya. When he returned, his face was stone. Who was that? She asked. I don't know. Number blocked. His jaw tightened. They said to walk away, that this doesn't end well for people who push. Back on campus, the mood had completely shifted. Students who had supported Maya the day before now avoided eye contact. One professor who had offered to help now closed his office door when he saw her coming. They're scared, Derek observed. I'm scared too, Maya admitted. By afternoon, campus security delivered a formal letter. The disciplinary hearing had been moved up. The paper trembled in Maya's hands as she read the charges. Falsifying evidence, defamation, violation of the honor code. Potential sanctions include immediate expulsion, the letter concluded. Derek made calls to everyone he could think of. Student advocacy groups, legal aid, media contacts. Everyone seemed suddenly unreachable or unwilling to help. It's like they've built a wall around us, he said, pacing her small room. At the scheduled time that evening, they sat outside the administrative building. The hearing would start soon. Maya stared at the grand entrance with its stone columns and heavy wooden doors. Everything we built, it's all gone, she said softly. Lena's disappeared. Rachel's been silenced. All the evidence is being called fake. Derek looked at his sister, studying her face. Tell me what you want to do. I want to fight, she said, but I don't know how anymore. That's what they're counting on. Derek checked his watch. They want you broken. Maybe I should just leave. Transfer somewhere else. Like all the others did. For a moment, neither spoke. The evening shadows stretched across the manicured lawn. Through the windows, they could see administrators gathering in the conference room. Maya stood, smoothing her jacket. I guess we should go in. Wait. Derek placed a hand on her shoulder. Before we do this, I need to know. Are you ready to really fight? Because what happens in that room, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. Maya looked at her brother and at the building where people were gathering to judge her. Everything she'd worked for hung in the balance. I'm ready, she said, though her voice shook slightly. As they walked toward the building, Maya felt as if the ground beneath her feet was crumbling away with each step. The disciplinary hearing had been brutal. Hours of accusations, evidence manipulation, and thinly veiled threats disguised as university policy. When they finally escaped the administrative building, night had fallen completely. Back in Maya's dorm room, silence hung heavy between them. The small space that had felt like a sanctuary now seemed like a prison cell. Maya sat on her bed, shoulders slumped, staring at nothing. Derek stood by the window, looking out at the campus lights. "They're giving me a short window to withdraw voluntarily," Maya finally said, her voice hollow, "before they make it official. And if you withdraw, no expulsion on my record, just gone, like I was never here." Derek turned from the window, his face partially hidden in shadow. "Like you never existed. Like Lena." Maya nodded, picking at a loose thread on her blanket. "Maybe that's better than fighting a system this big. No one's going to believe me now. They've made sure of that." She reached under her bed and pulled out a flat storage bin. Inside were course catalogs from other universities. Her fingers traced the glossy covers. "I requested these last semester, just in case." She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I was thinking about transferring anyway. Maybe this is a sign." Derek watched her flip through the pages, each one a potential escape route. His jaw tightened. "Is that what you want?" he asked quietly. "What I want?" Maya laughed, but it came out bitter and broken. "What I want is for none of this to have happened. What I want is to belong here without having to fight for every inch. What I want doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters." Maya threw the catalog aside. "They win, Derek. Don't you get it? They always win. Blake, the fraternity, the administration. They're all connected. They've been doing this for years." "So that's it? You just leave? What choice do I have?" Her voice cracked. "They've taken everything. My reputation, my scholarship, my future here. But not your voice." Derek moved from the window and sat beside her on the bed. "Not unless you let them." Silence fell between them again, heavier this time. Outside, distant laughter drifted up from the quad. Other students, untouched by what was happening, living their normal lives. "I'm tired," Maya whispered. "I'm so tired of fighting." Derek nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I know, but I also know you. This isn't you, Maya." He stood suddenly, his energy shifting. He began pacing the small room, thinking out loud. "We've been playing defense from the beginning, reacting to their moves, filing complaints through their systems, using their processes." He shook his head. "That's exactly what they want. They control those channels." Maya watched her brother, recognizing the tactical focus that had made him so effective in the military. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "They're powerful because they operate in shadows, protected by the system." Derek stopped pacing. "So we take away the shadows." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through the files Lena had shared before she disappeared. "The evidence is solid. The problem was how easily they controlled its release. Rachel's article was too easy to squash. One phone call from the right alumnus, and it vanished." Derek kept scrolling, then stopped. "We need something they can't contain, something public, undeniable." For the first time since the hearing, Maya felt a flicker of something besides despair. "Like what?" "I'm not sure yet." Derek sat back down, his focus intense. "But I know we need to find their vulnerability." He pulled out a notebook and began mapping connections. Blake to the fraternity to alumni, alumni to university positions. "Every power structure has weak points," he muttered. "It's just a matter of finding them." Maya moved beside him, looking at his notes. Slowly, her analytical mind engaged again. The hazing evidence Lena had, that was serious. Not just bullying, but potentially criminal. Derek nodded, and according to these messages, it wasn't random. It was systematic. They worked through the night, analyzing patterns, connections, vulnerabilities. As dawn approached, Derek's phone buzzed with a news alert. "What is it?" Maya asked, rubbing her tired eyes. Derek showed her the screen, a university press release announcing the annual Rho Delta Legacy Gala, just days away. Major donors, alumni, current members, he read, including several university board members, and he paused. Blake Harrington as student representative. Something changed in his expression as he continued reading. "What?" Maya pressed. "Private event, heavy security, and look who's attending." He pointed to a name on the guest list. The university president himself. Derek stood, energy renewed despite the all-nighter. "This is it, Maya. This is their moment of greatest visibility and vulnerability." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we stop playing by their rules." His eyes held a determined gleam. "That gala is where everyone who protects this system will be gathered in one place." For the first time in days, Maya felt something other than despair. Not quite hope, something harder, more determined. "We bring the evidence directly to them," she said slowly. "All at once, where they can't hide." Derek nodded. "Exactly. No intermediaries they can silence. No processes they can manipulate." "It's risky," Maya said, but her voice had found its strength again. "Yes, but so is letting them win." Morning light filtered through the blinds of Maya's dorm room, casting stripes across a desk covered with documents, laptops, and empty coffee cups. Maya sat cross-legged on her bed, organizing files on her tablet, while Derek paced the small space, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, I understand the risks," Derek said quietly. "But this isn't just about my sister anymore." Maya looked up, watching her brother's face. The determined set of his jaw reminded her of when they were kids, and he'd stand between her and neighborhood bullies. But this was different. They weren't children anymore, and these weren't playground threats. Derek ended the call and set his phone down. "That was Jamie from my old unit. He's got connections at Channel 7 News, a producer who can't be bought off. Can we trust them?" Maya asked. "Jamie? With my life? The news crew? We'll see." Derek sat down beside her. "How's the presentation coming?" Maya swiped through her tablet. "I've organized everything by type. Harassment incidents, administrative cover-ups, the hazing evidence." She paused at a video file. "Including this?" The file showed shaky footage of Blake forcing new recruits to drink until one collapsed. "That's assault," Derek said flatly, "and that's just one file. There are dozens more." Maya's voice was stronger than it had been in days. "I've created backups of everything on 3 different devices. They can't make all of it disappear." Derek nodded with approval. "Good. Remember our timeline. I'll enter first. Blend in with catering staff. You'll arrive during the president's welcome speech." "Won't they just throw me out?" Maya asked. "Not with witnesses present, and definitely not when the media vans arrive outside." Derek checked his watch. "Speaking of which, I need to finalize those arrangements." He stepped outside to make another call, while Maya stared at her reflection in her laptop screen. The face looking back at her seemed different, harder, more determined than the student who had walked to her dorm just days ago. She wasn't naive anymore. When Derek returned, he found Maya standing by the window, looking out at the campus. "Having second thoughts?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, just thinking about how much I wanted to belong here, how hard I worked." She turned to face him. "But I won't belong by staying silent." "You sure about this?" Derek asked. "Once we do this, I'm sure," she interrupted. "If I back down now, I'll never stop backing down, and neither will anyone else they target. Derek nodded, pride evident in his eyes. Then let's run through it one more time. They spent the next hour reviewing entry points, timing, and contingency plans. Derek's military precision meshed with Maya's analytical approach, creating a strategy that left little to chance. "What if Blake sees you before the reveal?" Maya asked. "He won't. I'll be in the kitchen until you arrive." Derek held up a catering uniform, and these guys all look the same in black pants and white shirts. By afternoon, they separated to prepare. Derek left to meet with his contact, while Maya rehearsed what she would say. Not a plea for sympathy, but a demand for accountability. She practiced in front of her mirror, making sure her voice wouldn't shake. Her phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Media confirmed. 3 outlets. No direct connection to us." She replied simply, "Ready?" As the afternoon faded into evening, Maya dressed carefully. Professional, polished, impossible to dismiss as anything but serious. She wore a navy blazer over a white blouse, her hair pulled back neatly. Looking at herself in the mirror, she thought of all the times she'd dulled her voice to make others comfortable. Not tonight. Her phone buzzed again with a message from Derek. "In position. Kitchen access secured." Maya took a deep breath and gathered her things. Tablet, phone, backup drive. She slipped them into her bag and headed out. Campus was quiet as she walked toward the Grand Alumni Center, where the gala was being held. Lights blazed from its windows, and luxury cars lined the circular drive. Security guards checked invitations at the door, while valets took keys from arriving guests. She stopped at a bench across from the building, watching people enter. Men in expensive suits, women in cocktail dresses, all part of a world that had tried to shut her out. In minutes, the university president would begin his welcome speech. Shortly after, she would walk through those doors. Her phone lit up with a final text from Derek. "President has arrived. Speech starts soon. Ready when you are." Maya stood, straightened her blazer, and took a deep breath. Across the street, the grand doors of the Alumni Center stood open, spilling warm light onto the steps. Inside that building was everyone who had protected Blake and his friends, everyone who had tried to silence her. She began walking toward the light. Strings of delicate lights cast a golden glow across the grand hall of the Rho Delta House. Crystal glasses clinked as waiters in crisp white shirts and black slacks moved smoothly between clusters of well-dressed guests. The fraternity's annual Legacy Gala transformed the usually rowdy house into something resembling an exclusive country club. In the kitchen, Derek adjusted his borrowed uniform, watching the crowd through the swinging door's small window. He'd memorized the faces from alumni newsletters, university board members, major donors, a state senator, and even the dean. All laughing, networking, celebrating the brotherhood that had protected Blake Harrington and countless others before him. "You, new guy," the catering manager pointed at Derek. "Take these champagne flutes out to the main hall." Derek nodded and lifted the tray with practiced ease. His military bearing made him look like he'd been serving at formal functions for years. He stepped into the crowd, eyes constantly scanning, mentally mapping each exit, and noting security positions. No one looked twice at him. Waiters were invisible to people like these. Near the grand staircase, Blake Harrington held court with 3 older men, alumni who wore expensive watches and perfectly tailored suits. Blake laughed too loudly at their jokes, desperate for approval. "My father always said Rho Delta prepared him for the boardroom better than any MBA program," Blake said, clapping one of the men on the shoulder. Derek kept his face neutral as he offered champagne to nearby guests. He checked his watch. Maya would arrive any minute now. The tech was in place, all systems ready. Outside, Maya took one final deep breath before climbing the steps to the fraternity house entrance. The security guard, a real one, not a student, looked her up and down. "Invitation?" he asked, clipboard in hand. "I'm here to speak with Blake Harrington," Maya said, voice steady and clear. "He's expecting me." The guard frowned, but before he could reply, a drunk alumnus stumbled out the front door, creating enough distraction for Maya to slip past. Heart pounding, but face composed, she walked into the lion's den. The buzz of conversation dimmed as heads turned. A black woman in business attire wasn't what anyone expected to see at the Rho Delta Legacy Gala. Maya kept her chin high, scanning the room until she spotted Blake by the staircase. She walked directly toward him, every step deliberate. Blake noticed her when she was halfway across the room. His smile froze, then twisted into something ugly before he composed himself. The older men around him looked confused as Blake excused himself and strode forward to intercept her. "This is a private event," he said, voice low, but harsh. "How did you get in here?" Maya didn't flinch. "I thought we should finish our conversation from the other day. You know, the one where you threatened me." Blake's laugh was brittle. "You've got some nerve showing up here. Do you have any idea who's in this room right now?" "I know exactly who's here," Maya said. "That's the point." By now, a small circle had formed around them. Curious alumni, fraternity brothers, and even a few faculty members watched the exchange with varying expressions of concern and annoyance. "Whatever you think you're doing, it won't work," Blake said, louder now, playing to the audience. "You already tried with that ridiculous article that got pulled. Nobody believed you then. Nobody will believe you now." Maya noticed Derek moving quietly along the perimeter of the room, tray in hand, but eyes watchful. He gave her an almost imperceptible nod. "I'm not asking anyone to believe me," Maya replied calmly. "I'm just here to show them the truth." Blake stepped closer, towering over her, using his physical presence as intimidation. "You should leave. Now. Before you embarrass yourself even more. Is there a problem here?" A distinguished older man, the university's board chairman, approached, frowning. Blake's posture instantly changed, becoming respectful, almost deferential. "No problem at all, sir. This student was just leaving. She's not supposed to be here." "Actually," Maya said, meeting the chairman's eyes directly, "I have something everyone here needs to see." Blake laughed, but there was panic behind his eyes. "She's been harassing our fraternity for weeks, makes up stories, trying to cause trouble." "Is that right?" The chairman looked skeptical, but his tone suggested he was inclined to believe Blake. "You built quite a system here," Maya said, addressing not just the chairman, but everyone listening. "But even perfect systems have flaws." Blake's face darkened. "Security!" he called out. "We have an unwelcome guest." As two security guards began moving toward them, Maya remained perfectly still, her eyes finding Derek across the room. She raised her hand slightly, fingers spread, then slowly closed it into a fist. Their signal. Derek set down his tray and reached into his pocket. The elegant banquet hall fell silent as every screen in the room suddenly flickered to life. The fraternity's promotional video disappeared, replaced by something else entirely. Grainy footage of Blake Harrington standing over a freshman, screaming in his face. "You think you belong here?" Blake's voice boomed through the speakers. "You're nothing." The alumni's polite conversations died instantly. All eyes turned to the screens mounted on the walls. Blake lunged forward, desperately looking for cables to pull or buttons to press. But it was too late. "Turn that off!" he screamed, his carefully constructed charm evaporating. That's fake!" But it wasn't fake, and it wasn't over. The footage changed to a security camera view outside Maplewood Hall, showing Blake and his friends surrounding Maya, Tyler's hand gripping her shoulder too hard. The timestamp clearly visible. "That's private property," Blake shouted, his voice cracking. "Someone stop this!" The university chairman stood frozen, drink halfway to his lips, watching as the video continued, showing exactly what had happened that day. Several older men in expensive suits shifted uncomfortably, exchanging worried glances. Next came Lena's testimony, her face blurred, but her voice clear. "They threatened to ruin my academic career if I reported what happened, and the administration helped them cover it up." More testimonies followed, faces blurred, voices sometimes altered, but the message painfully clear. One after another, students described harassment, threats, cover-ups. Some alumni looked horrified. Others looked away. "This is what your donations support," Maya said, into the stunned silence. Her voice was steady, carrying through the room. "This is what your legacy has become." The screen switched to emails, displayed large enough for everyone to see, showing administrators discussing how to handle complaints against fraternity members, how to redirect accusers, how to protect the university's reputation at all costs. One email from the Dean of Student Affairs was particularly damning. "The Harrington family's continued support depends on this going away. Make it happen." Blake's father, standing near the bar, went pale. Other parents looked stricken. That's out of context," Blake screamed, lunging toward Maya. "You stupid!" Derek stepped between them, moving with controlled precision. He didn't touch Blake. Didn't need to. His presence alone stopped Blake cold. "Back off," Derek said quietly. The simple command carried more weight than a shout. "You have no idea what you've done," Blake hissed, his handsome face twisted with rage. Your father will what?" Derek asked. "Cover this up too?" He gestured toward the windows where the media waited. "It's too late for that." The university chairman finally found his voice. "This is outrageous. These videos could have been manipulated. These testimonies are all backed up with evidence," Maya interrupted. "Evidence that's already been sent to every major news outlet, the Board of Regents, and the Department of Education." Several alumni were already on their phones, some calling lawyers, others leaving hurriedly. Parents whispered urgently to each other. The fraternity brothers looked shell-shocked. "You can't just come in here and—" Blake started, but was cut off by his father's hand on his shoulder. "Be quiet, Blake," Mr. Harrington said sharply. The older man looked shaken. "Just be quiet." Security guards entered the room, looking confused about whom to approach. Behind them came 2 campus police officers, responding to calls from multiple people inside. "What's going on here?" one officer asked, taking in the chaotic scene and the damning images still playing on the screens. "Ask him," Derek said calmly, nodding toward Blake. "Ask him about the videos you just saw. Ask him why so many students have been afraid to come forward." The officer's radio crackled. "We've got media requesting statements outside," a voice reported. "They're saying they have evidence of institutional misconduct." More alumni headed for the exits. A university vice president was frantically making calls. The fraternity president looked like he might be sick. "This isn't just about one fraternity," Maya said, addressing the room. "It's about a system that protects power instead of people." One of Blake's fraternity brothers suddenly stepped away from his group. "She's right," he said, voice shaking. "I've watched it happen. I never said anything, but she's telling the truth. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations, denials, demands for explanation. Blake stood in the middle of it all, his world collapsing around him, the protection he'd always counted on dissolving before his eyes. Derek moved to stand beside his sister. "You did it," he said quietly. Maya watched as the truth finally took hold. "We did it." Security began trying to establish order as the authorities started taking statements. The carefully constructed wall of silence had finally cracked wide open. The morning sun illuminated a campus transformed. News vans lined the main drive, reporters stationed at every corner. Students walked in clusters, talking excitedly, many stopping to watch the broadcasts happening live on their university grounds. Camera flashes punctuated the air like lightning. Maya sat in her dorm room, watching the chaos unfold on her laptop screen. 3 different news channels covered the scandal simultaneously. The headline on Channel 7 read, "Prestigious University Rocked by Fraternity Scandal." Her phone buzzed again. The 20th notification in the last hour. This one was a text from Derek. "Turn on Channel 4, now." She switched tabs just in time to see Blake Harrington being escorted from the administration building, his father walking stiffly beside him. Blake's usual confidence had crumbled completely. His shoulders hunched forward, his eyes fixed on the ground as reporters shouted questions. University security created a pathway through the crowd, but couldn't shield him from the cameras. "In a stunning development," the reporter announced, "Rho Delta President Blake Harrington and 4 other fraternity officers have been officially expelled from West Ridge University following last night's explosive revelations. Sources confirm that police have filed multiple charges, including harassment, intimidation, and evidence tampering." A knock on her door broke Maya's focus. She opened it to find Lena standing there, looking tired but resolute. "You're back," Maya said, pulling her into a tight hug. "I couldn't stay away once everything blew up," Lena explained as they sat on Maya's bed. "I got scared when they pressured Rachel to retract the story. My cousin let me stay with her for a few days, but when I saw the news last night..." Her voice trailed off. "Are you okay?" Maya asked. "Better than okay. I just came from the dean's office. They want statements from everyone who was targeted. They're actually listening now." Lena's eyes shone with unshed tears. "They're even talking about readmitting students who were forced to leave." Maya's phone buzzed again. An official email notification. She opened it and gasped. "What is it?" Lena asked. "University President Carrington is resigning, effective immediately. So is Dean Matthews and the head of campus security." Maya could hardly believe the words on the screen. "They're establishing an independent review board with student representation to investigate all past complaints." The news continued breaking throughout the morning. By noon, it was announced that the university board had voted unanimously to permanently disband Rho Delta. Their prestigious house would be converted into a student resource center, focusing on campus safety and equality. At 2 o'clock, Maya was called to the interim dean's office. She walked in with her head high, remembering how differently she'd been treated just days before in this same room. "Ms. Brooks," the interim dean said, rising to greet her. "First, I want to offer the university's sincere apology for what you experienced. Your courage in bringing these issues to light is commendable." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "We'd like to offer you a full scholarship for the remainder of your studies here," the dean continued. "And we'd like your input on the new campus safety committee we're forming." "I accept," Maya said firmly. "But I want Lena Vargas included too, along with others who came forward." "Of course," the dean agreed quickly. "Their perspectives will be invaluable." When Maya emerged from the building, Derek was waiting, Leaning against a tree, he straightened as she approached. "I just got the news," he said with quiet pride. "Full scholarship, huh? And campus committee." "Word travels fast," Maya replied, smiling. "I just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." They walked slowly across the main quad, where just days ago she'd been afraid to walk alone. Now students nodded respectfully as she passed. Some even stopped to thank her. "You know, I have to head back tomorrow," Derek said after a while. "I know," Maya replied. "Your leave is almost up. You going to be okay here?" Maya looked around at the campus, the same buildings, the same paths, but somehow completely different now. "Yeah," she said confidently. "I think I am." They reached the visitor parking lot where Derek had parked his truck. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the pavement. "You did something important here," Derek said, turning to face her. "You didn't just fix your situation. You changed the whole system." "We did," Maya corrected him. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You would have found a way," Derek said with certainty. "You're stronger than you know." He hugged her tightly, then stepped back. "Call me if you need anything, but something tells me you've got this handled." Maya watched as he climbed into his truck and drove slowly away. She turned back toward campus, taking in the sight of students moving freely across the open spaces. The flutter of newspapers announcing the scandal, the sense of something fundamentally changed. For the first time since she'd arrived at this university, she walked with complete confidence, her steps steady and unhurried, belonging wholly to this place that had tried and failed to push her out.